Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre of Majestic Wire Artworks. This tutorial is a Beebeecraft tutorial utilizing the Larimar beads and the chain that I got in my last box opening. And what I am doing with the 4 sizes of Larimar beads is, instead of a teardrop bead, I figured I'm going to utilize 3 of the sizes of the beads, the smaller sizes, as a graduated bead drop. And we're going to use it in this design instead of the teardrops right there. And I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful necklace. And we're going to use this chain and the Larimar. So if you can just visualize this instead, so it's longer, and it's going to give it probably a completely different look. So let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start with making 3 bead drops like this, and I have your supplies written in the description. And so we're going to start. If you can use scraps for some of this, this is great. So check out your scrap bin. For the bead drops, you're going to need 3 pieces of 6.5 inch copper wire or silver, you know, if you're using silver. But I would recommend making this with copper first to get the technique down. And it's beautiful with copper too. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make like a head pin. You could use head pins if you wanted to, if you have some nice long ones. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a coil at the end. So we got to make the bud. So you take your tips of your pliers and you make a little bit of a loop, and then you crimp it down and back, and that makes the little bud that's going to be the center of your coil. And then I just crimp them as we go and bend them as we go, and it takes practice. But like I said, if you want to use a regular head pin, go ahead. It's still going to look beautiful. I just tend to utilize the wire I have. I don't really have a store nearby for me to buy supplies, so I make a lot of my own things. Okay, so there I've got, I'm going to give it more of a bend there. Okay, so that's the base of my head pin. And now I'm going to take a 10 millimeter bead, an 8 millimeter bead, and a 6 millimeter bead. There's the 10. Eight. And 6. Okay, and I'm trying to, we're not in focus here. For this project, the wraps, I'm trying to keep it consistent with everything to have 3 wraps. So whether that takes practice or not for you, it might be good for you to plan ahead and figure out what distance gives you 3 wraps. Okay, so I've marked it on my round nose pliers. When I go this distance, it's 3 wraps. And I'm going to make all the loops the same size too, and it's the perfect size for a loop as well. So I'm going to match it there. I'm going to bend it And I'm stepping up the ladder of the pliers, making the loop. It's nice and round. And then wrapping it. So for, it didn't go quite as neat as I wanted to. So I'm moving it there, okay. Okay, it's got 3. I'm gonna straighten out the wrap a little bit and snip it. And then crimp it in. And that's the back. That's the front. I did it a little bit long. So what I would, well, we're doing it from the side view anyways. So it's going to be hanging from the side. So it'll be either there or there, and we would pick this side because we can't see the end. Okay, so that's done. So I would like you to go ahead and make 3 of your bead drops. And I will be back when I'm done mine. Okay, so I'm back and I have all 3 of my bead drops made. Now I'm not sure if I mentioned that I used a 5-inch piece of wire to make this. Scraps are great, and if you're using head pins, just as long as they're long enough to make this with, it's pretty hard to find a long enough head pin in order to do so. So that's why sometimes just have to make your own. Okay, so the next step is you're going to need, we're going to be making 4 of these. And you're going to need a piece of wire 6.5 inches long, 4 of them. And it's harder to find a 6.5 piece of wire in your scrap bin, but if you do, great, use them. If not, then you're going to need to cut yourself some fresh pieces. So we're going to need 4 6.5 inch pieces for this part. And then the next step, what we're actually going to do is we're going to make all of our woven pieces first. And definitely you could use scraps for this. You're going to need 3 to 4 inch pieces to do the weave on. I use 4 just because it gives you more to hang on to. But I mean, if you're using sterling silver, if you've got some 3-inch scraps, by all means, utilize them. And for your weaving wire, which is 28 gauge, by the way, these are 20 gauge. The 28 gauge, you're going to need approximately 2 3/4 feet per each woven stretch. And you can, I don't keep scraps of my 28 gauge, but if you do, you could look for scraps. I find they just get tangled, and then they get bent funny, and it just doesn't give a good finished product. So, you know, that's your prerogative, what you decide. And if you can use scraps, go ahead and use scraps. If you don't want to use each a small segment, you could do one larger 11-foot piece as well. But I would do 2 3/4 feet per each woven length. And I'm gonna first show you how to do the weaving, and I'll just get myself organized for that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I want you to do is take 2 of your 3 to 4 inch pieces of 20 gauge wire, And then take your 28 gauge wire, and you're going to start with one 20 gauge wire and your 28 gauge wire. And I want you to wrap a loop around it, like so. Okay, and then we're going to introduce the second wire to it, and we're going to just wrap a loop around it. And that holds it together, and it is perfect for the start of this 3/4 weave that we're going to use. Now we're going to weave 1.5 inches, so you want to make sure you move back far enough that you have room for your 1.5. Otherwise, you could work, if you work loose enough, you can slide the wires. But most people, when they're beginning, tend to make their work too tight. They're either too tight or too loose, but you'll figure out how to get it just right eventually. Okay, so the next step is to go up behind both wires, and then down through. Whoops, I did it. I boo-booed. Let's go. Okay. No, that was correct. That was correct. I'm second guessing myself here. I don't know why I've got my stage fright going tonight, and it's silly, but it is what it is. Okay, so we went up behind both. Now we're coming up around, and we're going down both, and then we're going to come up the center. Okay. Now we're going to come up behind both and pull and down the center. Okay, like so. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to have 2 shorts along 2 shorts. And this is usually where I stop in my weave, is after the top short, to compress it, and that's why I got confused before. I'm going, oh, but it was just because I normally work like this. Okay, so you're going over the front 2, tight, loosen it up, coming up like this, and you got your bottom one first, then you're coming up behind both wires, you bend it and tug it tight, let go at that point so that you're loosening your tension, and go down. Okay, so tight, loosen, pull it through, tight, do the bend, loosen it, pull it through. Okay, and I usually compress about every, at the beginning you do it about every 2 or 3, but after you've gotten about 5 or 6, then I start compressing it like every 5th pattern. Okay, so over the top, in the middle. So I want you to continue, and I want you to weave 1.5 inches, and have it fairly centered. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to snip off the ends, and you need to make 4 of them. Okay, so I will be back. Okay, so the weaving's all done, and what I want you to do is I want you to snip off all the ends and crimp it in just like this. Snip it off as close as possible, both ends, and then take your chain nose pliers and them in. Okay, so you've got all 4 of them. Get all 4 of them done like that. Okay, so now that you've gotten all your tails of your weaving snipped off, crimped in, the next thing you need to do is just set them aside for a bit, and then you need to take your 20 gauge 6.5 inch lengths and bend them at 2 1/4 inches. So 2 1/4. Just bend it like that, because that's where you're going to take your round nose pliers and you're going to make your first loop. So we're going to do it at that measurement so we're consistent. I'm hoping you found the measurement that gives you 3 wraps. So we're going to utilize that size for everything in this necklace. Okay, so you made your loop like that, and then 3 wraps. So what you're looking for is, if you want to stop, see if we put it there, it's going to look like 4 wraps. We want it to look like 3 wraps from all angles. So we're going to snip it right here so that it gives the illusion that there's 3 wraps all the way around. Okay, and then do your best to crimp it down. Sometimes it'll bend on you, so I'm actually pushing upwards as I do it, but it's still bent a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to work harden this wire a bit, and we're going to have to do that several times throughout this process because we don't want it to be bending too much. And I'm just snapping on it like this. And I also want to flatten out the loop. Okay. And I can see that that didn't crimp in very good. Okay. There. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take one of your woven pieces and you're going to snip it about right there. So 2 millimeters from the weaving, 2 to 3. It's an approximate. Okay, and I want you to take your round nose pliers and grab that at the smallest point of your round nose pliers, and we're going to make a loop. We're just going to make it touch itself. Like that, but completely touching it. It's not quite. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to take my pliers and start the bend that we're going to bend around the bead. So I'm gripping it like this, and we want it to hug the side of the bead, and it tends to wobble out at this point. So I'm just going to give it a start. Okay, so I went this way, and now I'm going to take this, and now what I really would recommend you doing is do all 4 of these just like this and have them waiting for you, because then they're going to be consistent. But that's up to you whether you do them all at the same time or not. I'm just going to show you this once. So we've got this, and I'm going to put this part on like this, right through the hole there. And then we're going to take a 12 millimeter bead. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it before, but there's 10 in the package. There's 10 of each size in there of the Larimar anyways. So I'm going to put that on like that. And then we're gonna wrap this around the bead. We'll have to do a bit of manipulating. Because it tends to bend under, and we don't want it to. We want it to stay forward and flush. Otherwise it won't hang right. Okay, so we actually want it to move forward. If there's a space in between there, that's okay. That's going to help it sit better in the necklace. Because we don't want it too tight either. See, this is what I don't want. I don't want that space in there. See how it's hugging up beside here? It never sits right there. So we have to fix that afterwards. I must have made this weaving really, really long. I know one of them I got carried away and made it too long. That's probably it. That's okay. I need to snip it off anyways. Okay. So I'm going to snip it off, giving it enough length that I can finish. That's probably too long. You want to tuck it in. See, it's too long, so I'm going to snip it off a little bit more. And hopefully I didn't make it too short. Oh, so it's going to make a nice tight loop there. Pretty much just about too short there. But it still works. Okay. Because this space here, it's going to make it a bit loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edge of my plier here, so I'm not snapping down on it, and just try and push it against the bead. Okay, and see, and then it loosened it up here. And now I want to take this very gently and make it so the weave is not bent down. I want it to be kind of flat, forward, very gently. Okay, like that. And I'm actually, because when it's hanging, oh, it's actually hanging nice. I'm gonna level this out a little bit again. I think it bent a little bit, I'm not sure. Okay. There. Okay, see, I'm holding it and it's bending back. So what I want to do is I'm going to put a tiny forward pressure to try and make it go forwards. That makes sense. And the weave I want to make straight again too. See, and now it's going to hang a little bit better. Okay, so I made it move that way a bit in the center. And I bent it back again. So, there we go. Okay. So I want this loop to sit this way. And so I want this one to do the same. And I've got my round nose pliers, and at that mark, have it sit against there, and that's going to measure for me 3 wraps, and I'm going to make my loop. Whoops, get messy there. Okay, I'm going to snip that off at the back. Crimp it in. And flatten the loop. Whoops, sorry. Okay. Now, I've noticed that when I've got one loop level, the other one isn't. I'm going to adjust that. And there it is. So I have 2 done now because I had one to show you ahead of time. So what I want you to do is go ahead and make all 4 pieces like that. And I will be back with mine done. Okay, so all 4 beads are wrapped with the weaving. And I'm hoping that you're happy with yours. Okay, so I mean, this could be done over, you know, take a break every so often, and you can do it in different phases. But yeah, so the next part is actually assembling it with a specialty piece that this is what it's like right here, and then our bead drop just has free movement in the middle like that. And so we're going to link everything all together while making these. So we're going to put the woven bead into this loop. Then we're going to put the bead drop in the middle. We're going to make the next loop, and we're going to put the next woven bead in it. So it's going to be a little bit trickier, but that's what we got to do, and we're just going to assemble it as we go. And we'll start with making the first one. So you're going to need your 3 6-inch pieces of 20 gauge wire, and you just need to start with one of them. And I'm going to get you to measure 2.5 inches. Which 2.5 inches is approximately 6¼ centimeters for those doing metric. Okay, I can tell by my timeline here, this will end up being a 2-part video, because I don't think I can tie this up in 10 minutes. and my phone will only do a 38-minute video. So I just have to live with that. Okay, so we're going to take that bend. We're going to make a loop. And I might as well, so we're going to do it, the loop the same size as all the others, but we want it fairly loose, side to side, because we want to slip in, before we wrap it, a bead drop. I mean, a woven bead link. Okay, so I've got it slipped in there. And we're going to take this and wrap it 3 times, just like all those other times. Okay, so we want it to be visually 3 wraps all the way around. Okay, I'd say right there, we'll snip it off, crimp it in. We want it to be neat. Might have made it too long. I'm going to snip it closer. Okay, and I'm going to work harden this little bit of wire. Okay, now the bead drop needs to go on that, so you got to pay attention. So I've done it on this side of this bead, which is kind of strange. I usually work on the other side. So that's the front. Okay, and so we want the front of the bead drop. So it's either going to be that side or that side, and I think this would make a better front. I'm going to level that out on top. Okay. Okay. So, actually I'm going to take this back off because I want you to take a measurement from the edge of this wrap. I want you to bend it 5 millimeters over. Okay, so it's this part of your ruler. I'm going to do it behind the camera. Not easy to do with the camera. Let's see how accurate I was. Not bad. Okay. And now I'm going to put the bead drop on it. Okay. Got to make sure it's all at the front. Okay, that's good. And this is tricky. Okay, so now we need to make another loop. And again, we don't want to close it. At my magic mark, make the loop. Okay, and now this is where things get tricky because we want everything facing forwards. Okay, so put it on first, and then is that facing forwards? Yes, it is. Okay, so I just lucked out and got it right. If it wasn't, then I would take it off, flip it around, and then put it back on. Okay, so now I'm going to close up that loop and do 3 wraps. Okay. So I'm going to go like this. Close up that loop. Make sure it looks nice. And it looks a little bit wonky. I'm just going to straighten it a little bit. Okay. And 3 wraps. And this is tricky because you have so much in the way. Okay, and my wrapping went a little bit astray, so before I move any further, I straightened it. And I see my loop kind of twisted. I'm going to straighten that too. And I'm going to snip it off there. Crimp it all in, straighten everything out. We're going to crimping this in is really tricky. So you're going to take your patience and stretch them until it looks just right. Get the loop looking just right. Have it all straight. Okay, and then the loops have to be adjusted so that they are facing the right direction. And we're going to pause here and we're going to go to video B. Okay, I'll see you in video B. Hi, this is Cheryl of Majestic Wire Artworks. This is video B of the Beebeecraft Larimar necklace that we're making. And this is where we left off. Okay, and so far that's what we have. Okay, just got to make sure this is hanging right and make adjustments. So looks, these loops have to be the same direction. Yep, they look pretty good. Okay. So now you're gonna do exactly the same thing that you did 2 more times, where you take it. So you're going to be flipping back to the other end of the other video, and then just duplicating this. It almost looks like an extra wrap right there. I might cut some more of that off just to give it a better look. And we got to be picky like that for a necklace. I'm just checking. Actually, it's not too bad, but I'm going to straighten it up. That's the back. Okay, there we go. No, 3 wraps. 3 wraps. Okay. Just going to tighten that up is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to pause it and we're going to assemble the rest of the necklace. Okay, so I've gotten the next part done. I've got the loop around the end, And so the next step is to measure 5. Oh, it needs more crimping down. Get it crimped down better because this will scratch. Crimp it down, and then you should take a file and file it so there's nothing scratching. Because it will scratch otherwise. Okay, so you're going to go from this wrap, measure 5 millimeters and give it a bend. Okay, so we got the 5 millimeters, gave it the bend. Now you're going to figure out what's the front. And this is the front. So we want the bead drop to sit with the front there. So that's the front. So we want it to be like so. Okay. And then we're going to make the next loop right there. Okay, so the next loop is made. And now we're going to put on the next woven link. And we got to make sure that the front is facing forward. So I'm going to, when I put it up from here, I should have it on backward, facing backwards, because it'll flip it around. See? Whoop, bad luck. So we got to make sure you don't do that. Okay, so I got to take that off and do the other side. And flip it around. Okay, so that's both forward. Now we're going to grip that loop and close it up. Okay, so we've got it that far. Okay, something seems to be sitting a little off. Gotta check that. Okay, make sure those loops are parallel or going the right direction. Okay, so sometimes you gotta twist it a little bit. What's going on here? Okay. Sometimes if something's not sitting quite right, you need to twist a loop. And I mean, nothing to worry about. It's all doable. So sometimes you need to, if you ended up with something not quite right, then you would just adjust the loops until it does sit right. Okay, because there's just not agreeing. Okay, so I'm going to flatten this out. That could be what's causing the issue. And I just wanted to share with you the difficulties of assembly, just because it seems difficult, but really it's a simple fix, and you just adjust everything until it fits right. Okay. So that's okay. And now we're just going to add on to the next one and do the same, what I just finished doing, all over again. Okay, so I've got it all assembled. Now, so what you need to do is just double check that you have the links going the right direction. What might happen to you is you might end up with one like this and one like this. So all you would have to do then is you would hold on to one loop with one set of pliers and another loop with another set of pliers, and you could just twist it around half a turn basically, and it would just fix everything for you. But you know, don't be scared to do that. You can either do that on a woven link or on one of these dangle links. It might be easier on a woven link, just because it's more visible. If you make this bend funny, it's more visible on one of those links. It's kind of hidden, more hidden on a woven link. So, okay, so now you've got that part. That's the hardest part. It's done. Now all that's left to do is adding your chain and your clasps, and you're set to go. I'm using some infinity links. No, just where did I put that? Okay, there, hidden on me. Okay, so I've got I'm using infinity links. With this chain I could open it up and use it, but I still prefer to use a little infinity link. You could use jump rings. Excuse me, I'm personally not a fan of jump rings. I like these because when they pull, it's on a solid area and it's not going to wiggle its way out. So if that makes sense. So I'm going to put an infinity link on the end of each of these. And then you can figure out what length it is of chain you're going to need, because I think I would make it approximately a 20-inch necklace. I think it looks better as a shorter necklace, but you would probably want to personally fit this to your customer or to yourself, where it hangs, where it sits right. And here we go. I'm gonna wiggle it till it touches, just like a jump ring. Okay, so I've got that, and I'm going to measure that, and you're going to figure out what length you want to make. So you measure that, and then of course take it away from the length that you're going to add to it. I just have to pause here because my phone's telling me my battery's low, and I've got to put it charging. Get it charging while I'm taping this. Okay, so now I'm just going to measure the length. And it's going to be approximate because it's kind of hard to do exact. But it's about 6.5 inches. Okay, so the clasp, usually the clasps, and because I use an infinity link and then a larger one for the lobster claw that I'm using, it usually adds an extra inch. So I'm going to make this 20 inches. On myself, I actually like it to be about 19 inches or 18.5 inches. Like I said, you're going to need to make a personal fit. What you could do is make it 18 inches and then have segments where they could be adjustable if you don't know the customer and you can, if you're mailing it out. I would recommend making additional, what would you call it, adjustable sizes, and just so that it fits right. I mean, even with different outfits, you might want it to be different lengths. But okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will come back with that complete and just show you what it looks like. Hi, this is Cheryl of Majestic Wire Artworks, part C of this video, and I just came back to show you the final product. I meant it to be on the last video, but I bumped the phone and it shut it down. So what I've done is I've added the chain, and I've given an extra link like this to offer 2 sizes to have a variation of lengths for different outfits. And this is what the necklace looks like. It's very pretty, and I think I actually like it better with these drops than the teardrops. So I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and please subscribe to my channel. And remember that Beebeecraft is offering a $5 coupon with Cheryl 5, all capital letters, and with any purchase of $40 or more US dollars. So take advantage of that, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.